What's happening, people? We are here for the third episode of Let the Punk Talk. Again, I'm joined by Carl from Boxingroyaltee. Going to cover a couple things today, mainly because the Eubank is fighting on the weekend, so I think he's going to be the main topic of conversation this week. But Carl, how are you doing, mate?
All right, mate. Day off today, so didn't do a lot. Went out something to eat, come back and just chilled out. Obviously, we said about doing this ahead of the weekend. How was last night? Royal Rumble?
No, it was appalling, mate, to be honest with you. Like, out of all the events I've ever watched in WWE, that was by far the worst one I've ever watched.
Why though? What, just it wasn't as entertaining, or there was no comebacks? Because I remember the Royal Rumble used to be about people coming back.
Yeah. Mate, it's just lost so much. Like, WWE's just lost so much, like, of its nostalgia, and mainly because when they've got a good thing going, they just find a way to ruin it. Like, the Royal Rumble was a special thing, and now they do 2 Royal Rumbles a year, like on the same cards. They do a woman's one and a man's one, and then like the same thing with the Money in the Bank. They had the Money in the Bank, which was good, and then they gave it its own pay-per-view, which was fine, but then they did 2 Money in the Banks, and then I think they even stretched it as far as to do like 3 or 4 Money in the Banks, because they did a woman's one, and then they, like, the chamber elimination that they used to have, that used to be like every 5 years or something, and then they give it its own event. Same with Hell in the Cell, so you always knew it was always coming every year, and it just really lost its nostalgia. And I was watching it last night, like, they had there was not one good moment in it for me, like, for the whole thing. Like, the first match was Roman Reigns versus Seth Rollins, and like, Seth Rollins, I think, is a brilliant wrestler, a brilliant character, but I can't say the same for Roman Reigns. Like, a bit boring, not entertaining, not a good wrestler, so on. That match ended in disqualification. Then they started with the Women's Royal Rumble, which was just, it was poor. To be honest, it was poor, but it was probably the best like fight on the whole card. It was quite nice. They had some like good comebacks, like the Bella Twins come back. They had Mickie James come back. They had I think her name was like Ivory from Right to Censor come back. Lita come back, which was good.
Lita,
yeah, come back, yeah. And then apparently Ronda Rousey had been out for 3 years, and she made an appearance, come back, and she ended up winning it, which was quite good. That actually gave me a bit of a buzz. That was the standout moment of the show, was Ronda Rousey coming back. Then they just had other fights. They had Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, which I knew wasn't going to be a good fight, and it was only like 5 minutes long, and the ending was just a bit weird. And then they had like the Men's Royal Rumble, and yeah, it was so poor. Like, the whole reason I watched it was for the Men's Royal Rumble. I was like, I thought the Royal Rumble was always good no matter what. Honestly, I knew about 3 wrestlers. Like, the roster has gone right downhill. There were no comebacks. All the comebacks were in the women's one. And then, yeah, and then like Brock Lesnar just ended at number 30 and then ended up winning it. And I was just a bit like, oh, that is just no. It was just a no from me, the whole thing.
I can't remember what year it was, the last one, because I said last night, I think I watched it about 5-6 years ago, and I remember the last one I watched, I remember the Dudley Boys come back.
Yeah.
And it was just, the whole thing went black, and then, you know, they do their like fireworks, it just goes like shh, and then I was buzzing with that. But yeah, I don't get why they don't bring nothing back, because like you say, everyone always looks for, like, the Royal Rumble is probably, apart from WrestleMania, the biggest event in the WWE. So why they didn't bring no one back? But I don't know. So who were the 3 you knew?
Randy Orton, Dolph Ziggler, AJ Styles, and there was others like Kofi Kingston and stuff, but like the 3 main ones, they were the 3 big wrestlers that were in it. And yeah,
I like Randy Orton. I think he's a West Ham fan as well, actually. I could be wrong.
He?
I don't know. I could be wrong.
It probably is, because I know he's like Triple H's boy, so he probably is.
Do you remember when he first started in it and they all like turned on him, on Randy Orton? Do you remember that?
Yeah, of course I remember that, Dad. Come on.
What was the what were they called?
Evolution.
Yeah. Ric Flair, Triple H, Batista, and Randy Orton, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy time. So going back in the WWE, I know we didn't speak about it a lot last night. What's like your top moment where you was like top 3, where you was like, what on earth has just happened?
My number one moment, and I'll never forget it, because it was so like, oh my God, like was when it was, I can't remember the event. I think it might have been Armageddon, and there was like a ladder match, and it was Paul London, Brian Kenrick, and I think they was up against the team at the time was called M&M, and it was like Johnny Nitro and I think John Morrison were the tag team. And then I think it was near Christmas time as well. And then the general manager come out and it was like, oh, because it's Christmas, I'm adding like 2 more teams to it. And then like the Hardy Boys come out and then someone else come out. And it was a brilliant match, but I'll never, ever, ever forget it because I was watching it live with my friend at the time. The Hardy Boys set up like 2 ladders and it was like set. So it was like a seesaw kind of thing like that. And then he had John Morrison and Johnny Nitro at the end with Matt Hardy, and Matt Hardy banged their heads together. And then Jeff Hardy's jumped off the turnbuckle and like jumped on the back end of the ladder to flick it up and like hit the 2 guys in the face. And obviously Johnny Morrison didn't time it properly, and the ladder's just gone boom. And like next minute, within seconds, it was blood everywhere. And obviously you can tell the difference between real blood and fake blood, because fake blood's like watery and it's a bit lighter, but real blood is thick and it's like red, like dark red. And I remember turning to my friend and I was like, that's fucking real blood. That's real blood. Yeah. And then it's zoomed in on Johnny Morrison. And he's flipped his hair back and his eye is like that with a massive gash, like going all like that up on his face. And I was like, oh my fucking God. I was like, you see his face. And then obviously the next day when he's come on Raw, apparently he ended up losing like 30% of the vision in his right eye or something. Like it was just a crazy, crazy, crazy moment. One of the all-time other moments was WrestleMania 17, the whole show in general, probably the best WrestleMania ever. And like, I would debate anyone trying to tell me any different. That was the best WrestleMania of all time. It had everything. The TLC match with the Hardy Boys, The Rock versus Stone Cold 2. They had Kane, Big Show, and Raven for the hardcore title. It just had absolutely everything. And then the one moment again, which I probably like, as far as I said the last one, I'll never forget it. I'll definitely never forget this one. It wasn't so much of a moment as in like, oh my God, that was brilliant. It was a bit of a moment like, what the fuck have I just heard kind of moment. It was when Chris Benoit killed himself and killed his whole family. It was I'll never forget that, because that was just crazy to me, because I remember that was when I was watching it. Like every week, I was staying up on a school night to watch Raw, and I was and on the Friday to watch SmackDown, and I was buying every single pay-per-view. And Chris Benoit, again, funny enough, it was the Royal Rumble, and Chris Benoit was meant to fight Chavo Guerrero for the United States title. And when Chris Benoit was meant to come out, someone else ended up coming out. And then the announcer was like, sorry, guys, Chris Benoit couldn't be here. He had to fly away due to family issues. Obviously, no one knew what was going on at that moment in time. And then I remember waking up a couple days later after the Royal Rumble, and it was all over Sky Sports News that Chris Benoit like killed himself, killed his family and everything. And I was just so like, what the hell have I just heard? I could not believe that. It was one of them moments where it was just like your mind was literally blown.
I remember when that news came out. It was something to do with a balcony or something. Am I right in thinking that?
A balcony? I don't know. There were so many stories that went around.
Yeah, same as Eddie Guerrero. Like a lot of people said he had a heart attack while he was brushing his teeth. I still don't even know if that was true or not.
I don't think so.
But they do. They obviously they must take steroids. Do you know what I mean? Like you look at the size of some of them. Their heart must be like pumping, and when things don't go right, their testosterone must just turn, and they must just get so psyched up. But there was one memory there. I agree with Jeff. I remember when Jeff Hardy and Matt come back. I don't remember the match, but I remember when they come back and the bloke come out and he said, "We're making this a triple or a fatal four-way, whatever." And that Jeff Hardy's music, and I still listen to that song to this day. Jeff Hardy's called it Ringwall. Such a good song. His first ever one I liked, but there was one memory for me, and that was when it was a Hell in a Cell match, and the Undertaker just choke slammed Mankind, and he just went through the top. And he just fell through the ring. And it's them moments that it probably is set. Well, it obviously is set up. Do you know what I mean? But like, you just do not expect it. And you just see him like laying down, and Undertaker's like looking down, like, shit, was that supposed to like fall through? Like, you know what I mean? And there was another one when, again, it's Jeff Hardy. Like, he just did not give a shit, did he? Let's say get to the top of a 30-foot ladder, and you're going to backflip off. Please make sure you land on the wrestler, otherwise you're going to hurt yourself. You will still hurt yourself, but just do it. And that's the entertainment side of it, which when you were a kid, and even still to people nowadays, you know what I mean? They still love it. I still know loads of people that watch it, you know, and I think I could watch some events. I'd like to watch the Royal Rumble, but I'm glad I didn't stay up with you last night and watch it, because I'd have probably been messaging you this morning saying I hate you and stuff like that. But no, when's the next one then? What's the next big event for you to watch on that?
I don't even know. I don't know how the events normally go, but I just know, I always know that the Royal Rumble's the first one of the year, and then they normally do Wrestlemania in like April, May time. But I think the next one that is actually Chamber Elimination. But again, it's not the same. It's not like the Chamber Elimination when we were like kids, and it was like an 18 plus or 15 plus. Now it's PG. It's very limited on everything they could do. And after seeing like the Raw star last night, you know, I wasn't very impressed. But apparently there's a new like company coming through called AEW, and they're not like PG, and they're stealing like a lot of the main figures. Like over there now, they've got like Chris Jericho, Cody Rhodes, Goldust, the Big Show's gone there, Dean Ambrose went there, so like all the big superstars are going over to AEW. It's on my list to actually watch it and give it a little give it a go and see how good it is, but I haven't gotten around to it yet.
Yeah, my one of my friends, he watches that. It's quite funny because I said we went out for food today, and he mentioned CM Punk. He showed me this. I swear this is the truth. Like, we sat in his car, and he was like, "Oh, I've been watching this wrestling," and I don't know if it was AEW, but he was like, "Look who's on it." He was like, "Look who's on it," and I was like, "That's CM Punk," and he was like, "Yeah," and I was like, "Quiz time. What does CM Punk mean?" And he said, "Chicago made Punk." And I was like, "No, it doesn't."
He's wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, "This is what I mean," and I now can't remember what it means, but it's Chick Man Punk.
Chick Magnet.
Chick Magnet Punk. And he was like, "Oh yes, that's." I was like, "Yeah." So you know Jack, who I speak to, the professional boxer. He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "He was actually called LM Punk at one point." And he was like, "What, Ladman Punk?" I was like, "No, London made Punk." So I got that's one of the things I learned from what we've been doing. Yeah. I think you'd be all right as a wrestler. You've got that persona where you could act. Is that something that, say, in a few years' time you retire boxing, you would look at doing?
The funny thing is about that is I actually looked into doing that before I started boxing, and I couldn't find anywhere in London. Obviously, it's not really that big in London, so like I didn't know what to do, where to look, like how to start, and so on and so forth. And I was just a bit like, oh, well, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And then lo and behold, I ended up finding boxing like a couple months later. So I actually would have loved to have done it, and I would still kind of love to do it, but I don't know. I highly doubt I ever will do it now.
We had a guy I went to school with him. He did it for a while, but he just said, like, it fucks your body up. He said, like, you're in so much pain afterwards. Well, what would your ring attire be then? You're in the WWE. What would you wear? Would you be in the tight briefs or?
No, I'd probably wear like, well, they are all tight no matter what you wear, but I'd probably wear like some kind of like jeans or something, like tights, spandex, like going all the way down, not just the little pants that they do. Those.
I think I'd just come out, I don't know, in a pair of, like you say, trousers, boots, because they always wear the knee-high boots as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
Remember Chris Jericho? No, it wasn't Chris Jericho. Goldust. That full-on lycra suit, like gold and black. And he was just like some ordinary man. But when he got in the ring, he had like this complete change of profile, and he was like a complete weirdo, wasn't he? Didn't say a word and just used to hush everybody and like look around and crazy. But they must get paid all right, though. Would you think they get a good, decent?
Yeah. The top ones do, 100%. Like John Cena, like The Rock, obviously when he was there, Stone Cold, Triple H, they're all like multi-millionaires from it, so they get paid good money.
Do you remember when he started, John Cena? I remember his debut.
Yeah, of course, against Kurt Angle, innit?
Yeah, and he beat him, didn't he? And he used to come out. What was his song? Word Life. Do you remember it?
Yeah.
He was a rapper, and now look at him. He's with one of the Bella twins. Crazy, isn't it?
It is, mate. It is.
So we're obviously here to talk about this weekend's fight, Eubank versus Williams. Before we go on to that fight, I think go through the undercard. as I know you're quite into your ladies boxing, or a certain lady as such.
Yeah.
But let's obviously there's a big hype in the minute around Clarissa Shields versus Savannah Marshall. Clarissa's obviously on the undercard. Have you watched much of her?
I don't think I've actually ever watched a Clarissa Shields fight, but she's just not really someone that really appeals to me that much. Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen a fight of her, but obviously I know who she is. She's been around. She's been down and trained down at like Churchill's a bit, and like I know a couple people that have had like run-ins with her on Twitter, myself included. Yeah, so like, I'm not really a fan of hers, to be honest with you.
You had a run-in with her.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened.
And so basically, like she's just there slagging off Savannah Marshall, as she seems to do every spare moment of her life. And obviously a fight's never happened, and and as far as I'm aware, like a fight doesn't seem to be anywhere near happening. And she was just slagging her off, saying something about her. And I was just thinking, like, well, this woman, when you fought as an amateur, she's the only person who's ever beat you. Like, you're clearly bitter about it. And I think I just commented something on there like, so why don't you fight her then? So because she was like slagging her off. And then some like 14-year-old girl like had screenshotted my box rec and posted it and just writ something like extremely irrelevant, like that just didn't even matter. And I was just like, okay. And then like next minute I see that some Clarissa Shields had like retweeted it and was like, oh, like, Jack, sit down or something like that. And I was like, what do you mean sit down? I was like, you're the one slagging off some woman that beat the shit out of you in the amateurs and can't let go of it, and you're telling me to sit down. And then like, yeah, she never replied. But yeah, that was pretty much it. But yeah, she just seems a bit of a dick, as I
think all Americans are. Not like, that's quite harsh, not all Americans, but I think a lot of Americans hype themselves up. But going on to Savannah Marshall, just how special do you think she is?
Oh mate, I think she's like the Tyson Fury of the women's division. I don't see anyone beating her. Like I watched one of her fights before, and she does have a very like Tyson Fury style. She's trained by, is it John Fury or Peter Fury? One of them that trained. Yeah. So she's got that kind of Fury style, and she just looked like an absolute monster. Like when I watched her, and I remember watching it thinking, I don't think anyone's going to beat her. And then obviously looking back on her history, like, you know, she beat Savannah Marshall as an amateur, who's meant to be the GWOAT, as they call her. But yeah, man, I think that Savannah Marshall stops Clarissa Shields if they fight.
I think I've watched the last 5, because obviously she was on Matchroom, so she fought at Fight Camp and a lot of Eddie Earn shows. Now she's with Boxer. And I don't think the power's natural for a, without sounding sexist, at women's level. Do you know what I mean? Like, she is knocking out everybody. And she's not just going in there, like, first round, bang, knocking them out. She's boxing their head off, finding the time, working the space. And you see Peter Fury in the corners, right, now, end it. Do you know what I mean? It's not a case of, like, just go in there and hit her and keep hitting her. She's very, like you say, she boxes like Fury. She stays behind that jab. She stays away. But when she comes in, she only comes in when she knows she's going to connect. And I think you're right. I don't see anyone beating them. But talking about the GWOAT, as you say, of boxing, Savannah Marshall isn't your GWOAT, is she?
No, I mean, Ebony Bridges is my GWOAT.
I'm sure she's a lot of people's, but talk to me, because obviously Ebony's been on a few of the, well, she's been on the last, I think, sort of 2-3 fights she's been fighting on British soil. She, in her last fight, she beat that Beth Connolly. She fought Shannon Courtenay. What is it that you just like? Is it the no fucks given attitude from her, or just talk to me about what you like so much about her?
Yeah, no, obviously the no fucks attitude is right up my street. But I just like the way that, like, do you know, we talk about AJ and I'm always like, she's just fake, it's this, that. But I like the way that she's very real, and she knows she's a good looking woman, and she uses that to get views. But not only does she use it to get views, but she's very open about she gets these views because she's a good looking woman, and she uses that to her advantage. It's not like she's doing it like wearing lingerie to like the weigh-ins, and then, you know, in an interview being like, I don't know why they're all looking at me. I don't know why they're all looking at me. Like, she's doing it on purpose, and I like that, and I like that she's, you know, owning up to that and like admitting to it. So yeah, it's her attitude, and you know, that I like about her. And obviously I've met her as well, and she's like a real nice woman. Like, she spent time with the kids that came to see her. Like, she spent time speaking to everyone, like, and she's got quite a good banter as well, which is what I like. So yeah, no, that's why I've taken quite a liking to her.
Where did you meet her? Because you went, was it down? It wasn't at York Hall you met her, was it? You went down and she signed a few bits for you.
Yeah, she was doing a where was it, Terry? We went. Do you remember? I can't remember. Isworth. Yeah, Isworth, Islington, somewhere like that. She was doing like just like meet and greet down there, and I was like, oh, this is cool. I was like, let's go. It's not too far away. And then me, Terry, and my friend Ryan, we all went up there, and like it was quite funny actually. It was a good night out. Like, it was a good fun. What
did you say to her when you met her then?
Oh, she walked in and she noticed me. Well, no, she come up and says hello, and I was like, oh, hi, I'm Jack. Like, we messaged each other on Insta, and she was following me at that time, and it was the day I had my weigh-in, and she was like, oh, I didn't recognize you with your clothes on. And obviously, like, we started laughing and like messing around, and then like, obviously I introduced her to my friends Ryan and my girlfriend Terry, and when I introduced her to Terry, I was like, this is my ex-girlfriend Terry. And like, so it's just like that kind of thing. Like, she's got banter, like she joins in with it and all that, which is what I really like about her. Like, she's just like a cool cat, as they say.
You've got to admire her. Do you know what I mean? She's coming from Australia, which isn't like a 2-hour flight. She's flying from the other side of the world. She's coming to a country where not a lot of people knew her, and granted, probably half the people that know her is because she literally strips down to the bare bone for a weigh-in. But like you say, she doesn't give a shit. Do you know what I mean? Like, she just gets up there, she does her thing, and she can fight. You know, when she fought Beth Connolly, not a lot of people had stopped Beth. Like, Beth's fought some top fighters, and she just mauled her to pieces. And I am happy that Ebony's got a world title shot. And you're going to that, aren't you?
Yeah. Me and Terry are going down to Leeds. It's like, it's my birthday present. It's an early birthday present for me. So Terry like paid for it all and all that. She's treating me. Good girl.
Is that the Warrington card?
Yeah, the Warrington card. Yeah,
that'd be a good night because you've got Maxie Hughes. He's fighting on there for the world title. Ebony.
Yeah. Sorry, 3 world title. Yeah, he's fighting Ryan Walsh, isn't he? Maxie Hughes.
Walsh. Yeah. That'd be a decent little card. So, what are you staying up there for the night, or are you going to drive up, drive back?
No, we're going to stay up there for the night, I think, and then come back the next day. Yeah, it'd be good, man. It'd be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Well, so moving on to the British middleweight scene. Obviously, we said we was going to speak about Eubank Williams, who we're in the corner of supporting and who we want to win. But before we go on to that, I want to talk about like the British middleweight. So I think in terms of a British level, it's one of the greatest divisions we've got. You know, off the top of the four that you look at, you've got Felix Cash, Denzel Bentley, Sam Eggington, and Anthony Fowler, who's just stepped up. Who out of them four, if you take the Williams and the Eubank, you've also got like Linus Udofia, but who would you say is the greatest British middleweight at the minute, excluding the two that we said?
Well, I'm going to have a quick look on BoxRec just so I know every middleweight, so I can give a good indication of this. So we got,
I think it goes Eubank, Williams.
Yeah, Sam, is this domestically we're talking about, or world?
Just domestically, British level, yeah.
Domestically. There are some good middleweights there actually. Well, I would say that Sam Eggington's fought at the highest level, but he's very one-dimensional and he's quite easy. He's quite easy to beat if you move your feet. And then there's obviously Felix Cash, who's probably got one of the best resumes out of the bunch of them. And then obviously Linus has obviously he's coming along really nicely. He's fighting for the British. I would say if I had to pick, I would say you probably would go with Felix Cash at the moment domestically.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, as people know, I'm a huge Denzel Bentley fan. I talk to Denzel quite regularly. He's done a lot to help me again with my merchandise. I was gutted for him in that last fight. You know, he just got in there and he did just get mauled. He got caught with a silly shot and he weren't ready. But What's your thoughts on Anthony Fowler? I mean, again, another person I've spoke to more on Twitter is Anthony. He's moving up. Obviously, he lost to Liam Smith. What's your thoughts on him moving up to middleweight? Do you think him versus Felix Cash? What would you make of that fight?
I think it'd be a good fight. I think any fight that Anthony Fowler's in is a pretty good fight. He's got quite an entertaining style because he's got a good engine, comes forward, can bang, but he's subjective to taking a shot or two as well along the way. So then it's that crowd pleasing style. But I hate this whole thing when fighters lose and then they just move up weights. I hate it. But like, as I'm quite a Attire and Booth fan. I watch his channel quite a lot, and he said that it's like a way of like rebranding people. Like they lose it this way, and it's like, I was too small that way. I need to move up, and it's a whole way of like new branding, new marketing, and so on. But I just think it's like a cheap. I just think it's a cheap excuse. Like, you're fine at that weight 1 minute, and you're beating everyone in front of you, and then you lose a fight, and you're like, oh, I'm too small for that weight. I need to move up. And I just think it's a cheap excuse. So I don't really like it. But all the best to Anthony Fowler at middleweight. But yeah, that's my view on it.
I do feel sorry for Anthony because obviously we all know about like Supreme CBD and how he's constantly giving things away, and then people just constantly take the mick out of him when he's doing interviews and stuff. And obviously he doesn't do a lot of interviews now, especially with IFL TV because of that whole thing that happened with Umar Ahmed. But I do think he was big. I think super welterweight. I think he was massive at that weight. Yeah, and I think he's now at that age where he's what, he must be 30. And he's probably, look, I need to build. I've just lost to a not British level fighter in Liam Smith, but I've lost a fight that would propel me to that world stage, which I think would have been too early. I think the middleweight is good for him, but like you say, yeah, I do agree in a lot of divisions that you do get a lot of fighters lose and go, oh no, well, we'll start again with the next one. Do you know what I mean? Like, just can't be healthy either. Like, especially if you're making the weight comfortably. Do you know what I mean? Like, it can't be healthy to go, oh, next week we'll fight a middleweight. Oh, hang on, British title down at super welter. Like, it can't. Like, your body must be going like. And I know there's not much in between, but surely it would be better, and you would perform better by just staying at a constant weight. I know obviously you drift out of weight and can, but. So we talk about Linus. He's actually a stablemate, isn't he? You're both under the same promoter.
Yeah, well, he's actually promoted by Wasserman now, but he's still managed by Steve. So yeah, like I know Linus very well. I've known him pretty much my whole career. Like for the whole 6 years I've been a pro, he's always kind of been like Steve's golden boy a little bit. Him and Brad Paul. So I know him very well.
So what's Linus like? Is he a good guy?
Oh yeah, he's a lovely guy, man. Like. And you like, me, like if I thought he was a prick, I'd come out and say I think he's a prick. But no, I get on really well with Linus. Like I've always got time for him. Like every time I see him, I'll say hello, we chat, and like we'll have a good laugh together. So yeah, I've got a lot of time for Linus.
So you're obviously pleased, and he's been given or mandated to fight against him and Denzel Bentley for the British title. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, like he definitely deserves it. Firstly, because. As I said, when I started, Linus was only a couple fights in his career. I think it was only like just literally a handful of fights, and he's done it the hard way. Like he was going to fight for the Southern area, but that fella at the time didn't want to fight him, so he had to bypass that and then go to the English. He wiped out everyone at English. He's been on the big shows. He's been on the Hay cards. He's been on, he fought throughout lockdown on a match. I think it was a Matchroom show. Yeah, like. He's beaten everyone that's been put in front of him. He's stepped up to even, I would say, beyond, even though there was no titles on the line, but I would say he stepped up beyond English level, and he's been beating people, stopping people, and been looking great. Like, I don't know much about Denzel. I don't even think I've actually ever seen him fight, but I've seen Linus fight a lot of times, and I know how talented Linus is. So I believe that he will become British champion when he gets the opportunity.
So I'm on the other. I've seen Linus fight when you said he fought on Sky or Matchroom, whatever it was, a few months back. Also, I'm a Denzel Bentley fanboy. I love Denzel. He's a nice guy. He obviously, Denzel had them 2 fights with Mark Heffron where it was a draw, and then I don't know. Well, obviously you said you didn't see him fight, but the second fight he knocked him out.
Yeah.
So I do hope, no disrespect to Linus, but obviously I do hope that Denzel does it because, like I say, he is a good guy. He works hard. He's part of the Peacock Gym, and he's just a nice go around. But like I say, I'm sure Linus is as well. But we all have our favourites, and unfortunately, this time, Linus, I'm Team Denzel. So maybe that's one for when the fight comes along. We'll do something there. So you said you think Felix Cash at British level is the best middleweight out there, yeah?
Yeah, I would go with him at the moment, yeah, because of who he's beaten. Like, well, he's been the British champion. He's been there, done that, like brought a T-shirt and so on. Where others just haven't really had the chance to like step up and go beyond yet. But he's in that stage of his career where he's obviously elevated, and people are just at their stage in their career where they're just getting to the stage that he was at. So I'll just go with him at the moment because it's kind of like a safe bet, really, to just go with him. Because as I said, he's been there, done that. He's beaten.
He's Commonwealth as well, isn't he? Felix.
Yeah, I think he's held a couple titles, yeah.
Because I know he was Commonwealth and he fought Denzel for Denzel's British and the Commonwealth. And then he beat Denzel and he's vacated it. Because Eddie was saying, because he's with Matchroom, that he was rumoured to be fighting for the EBU.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Title, but I don't, because he's had a fight announced and it's not for the Commonwealth. So I think he is fighting for the EBU title. But he's another part of the Tony Sims gym. Who I rate Tony Sims, one of my favourites. Connor Ben's in there, but that's another topic for. Well, we spoke about that the other day, didn't we? Actually. So moving on then. So we'll talk about the big fight. Obviously, that's why we're here. You've got Chris Eubank Jr., always been known as a nightmare to work with. It's been said by hundreds of promoters. You know, his dad's always too much involved. He tries to get too much more. You've got Liam Williams, who ploughed his way through British level. He knocked out every single person he stepped in front of, bar obviously Liam Smith in the 2 fights. He's come back. He's fought Andrade. So let's talk about Liam Williams first and that loss to Andrade. Did you watch that fight?
I think I see the highlights. I think I was trying to watch it everywhere, but I just at the time I didn't have the funds to pay for like the pay-per-view. But I was trying to watch it everywhere, and then obviously once the results come along, I don't really like to sit and watch the whole fight knowing full well what's going to happen. But I did watch like the highlights and all that. And obviously Liam Williams was outclassed, but he gave a good account of himself like he always does. And I think Liam Williams is probably just below world level, I'd say. And I'd say the same for Eubank, really. I'd say they're both about European level. So it's going to be
I'd agree. I mean, I watched the fight live and I thought that Williams was going to come out like a steam train, and he did and got dropped. I think it was first or second round. And I never really rated Andrade. I never thought, like he was as good as people made out, but he definitely showed his class that night. I do think that Williams got tired too quickly. I think he trained. I know you boxers say you don't train to knock out, but I think he was relying on the stoppage, and I think he started to realise he was getting tired. And by the 8th round, he weren't catching him, and he did wobble Andrade a couple of times. I think it was in the 10th round. He caught Andrade clean. And if he had the energy, he could have stepped on it. Like you said the other day, like when you catch them, you get this second energy to just jump in and try and maul them. But I don't physically think he had that. But let's talk about his power. Obviously, I can't remember the guy's name, but Monaghan, I think it was, when he was fighting on BT Sport, he knocked him down in a British title fight. And it was a bit like Chisora versus what was his name? We spoke about it last week. The guy that AJ also beat, Takam. Where he knocked Takam down. Takam got up and then Chisora just legged it across the ring when the bell went and just caught him. I remember watching it, and that when Williams done that, I just sat there and I was like, holy shit, like Jesus wept. Do you know what I mean? So is this fight going to be, is Power going to win this fight, do you think? Is that going to help Williams?
I think that, but I reckon that it's going to go to decision because Williams is incredibly tough and fair, and so is Eubank. Eubank's also incredibly tough. Eubank's never been stopped, and I think Liam Williams has been stopped once, but that was via a cut, wasn't it? Yeah. So like they're both incredibly tough. But I mean, a stoppage is definitely always on the cards because both of them can bang. Like especially Liam Williams can definitely bang. I've heard things about Eubank doesn't punch that hard, but he's got like a mad engine and ends up breaking people down later on and stopping them. But then again, I've seen a couple fights where it looks like Eubank can bang because he's sparked people flat out before. So I mean, a stoppage is definitely always on the cards, but I have a feeling it will go with the decision.
So I'm guessing another thing you like about Liam Williams again is his no fucks given. You know, he says it as it is. He's not one of them, like we said about AJ, that has sponsors watching him what he says. If he's asked a question, you know, I didn't actually watch The Gloves Are Off tonight, but apparently he just looked straight at Eubank, was like, I don't fucking like you.
Yeah.
Like, this is more than personal. I just cannot. Because he has, you know, obviously we're both on Twitter, all on Instagram. We see it. For years, he's been calling out. He was calling out Andrade for a couple of months or years, whatever it was. And ever since that Andrade, he's called Eubank a bitch. He's called him, you know, whatever he can. Is that another, again, is that why, are you Team Williams for the fight? Is that what you like about him?
No, I'm actually Team Eubank, but I do actually really like Liam Williams. I really like both of them. Again, for that reason, like Eubank doesn't really give a fuck either, and neither does Liam Williams. But yeah, I'm more of a Eubank fan. I've always been a Eubank fan, which has always kind of shocked a lot of people because not a lot of people actually like Chris Eubank. But I just think like his dedication to the sport like is second to pretty much none. And I've always really admired that about Eubank. I mean, he's been a bit like naive when he was younger, saying, you know, a trainer was never really a big thing. He was just like, he needed someone to hold pads. But when he got to the top level, he did get found out, and it did kind of come into thing that he did need someone that he trusts. And he's got Roy Jones now, which they look like they're gelling together really well. But disagree with me if you think I'm wrong. I actually think that the Eubank and Liam Williams fight has the potential to be the greatest fight in British history.
Elaborate.
I think both their styles just add up to an absolute incredible fight. Like, both of them have amazing chins. Both of them have amazing power. Both of them have amazing engines, and both of them just come forward non-stop and throw nasty, spiteful shots the whole fight. And I think if you put two people like that in a ring together that generally don't like each other, I cannot see that being a boring fight. I just can't see it. And I just think it's got all the makings to be like one of the greatest fights in British history.
Without a doubt, I think it's, you know, it's definitely got the ingredients to be a cracker. You know, like Williams, every shot he lands, like when you're watching it, like you kind of wince. You're like, oh, has that hurt him? Do you know what I mean? And I'm on the reverse. Right, when I first got into boxing, I remember the first fight we said about the other Hay versus Value and whatnot. But the first actual pay-per-view I can remember going out and like actually going out intentionally to watch that was Joshua White. And I'd been out, you know, like all the big fights before, but I remember this exactly. And on that undercard, Eubank fought Spike O'Sullivan. And he made him retire in his corner. And at that point, I really liked Eubank. But then obviously where I've got more and more into boxing over the years, and I watch a lot of interviews, like every night I'm always just laying about watching interviews. You know, we hear about how Eubank he thinks he's better than he is. And look, he's clearly got talent. But I think he's wasted his talent with the arrogancy of saying that he hasn't needed a trainer. You know, that whole thing of I don't need a trainer. You know how much you do need someone in that corner that's got your best interests at heart. You know, we spoke about how you and Kieran are your friends. He's got your best interests. But do you think that he would be further on now? So say when he beat Sullivan, he went in the gym, he got the trainer, he went back with Roy Jones 3 years ago. Do you think he'd now be way past this fight, potentially world champion?
It's always hard to tell. I do believe that he is like, you know, you know, if people normally like to rate fighters by the alphabet, don't they? Like, oh, he's an A-star fighter, he's an A+, this, that. I believe he's like an A fighter. He's just below like the A-star, or maybe even like a B+ fighter kind of thing. Like, he's been in there with two world-class fighters in George Groves and well, he's been in with a couple world-class fighters, but on the decline. But George Groves and Billy Joe Saunders, he was in the fights with. I don't understand this whole thing when people say the Billy Joe Saunders fight was close. It wasn't close. Eubank had 3 good rounds towards the end and lost every other round. So it was never close. It was never a split decision. But he made a good account of himself. He was in the fight. And the same with the Groves. Like, he didn't really win many rounds, but he put up a good account. He was in the fight. He made it entertaining. So he showed that he's not world level, but he's showed that he is probably you know, just under. Like he has beaten some good fighters. He's beaten Abraham. He's beaten the girl. Again, the girl was on the decline, but the girl was literally just relinquished his world title. So if the girl still had that, he would have been a world champion. So, but technically he has been a world champion because he's won the IBO twice, but the IBO isn't really looked at as a real established world title. But again, what we were just talking about, he probably is at that kind of like IBO level. That is probably what his level is. He's not a real recognized world champion, but he is probably just below that class. So maybe if he did have a trainer throughout his career that he really trusted and listened to, he probably could have got there, because he's pretty much done all this on his own accord, really, like his own terms. So if he did have that one man that was there helping him and developing in him how he should have been developing in, then maybe he could have been a world champion.
Yeah, I always stand by, you know, when I watched him fight Spike, just how good he looked. And then to hear that he just had that guy. What was that guy? Do you know him? The old boy that he used to have in the corner, just used to throw water at his face.
I know you mean, but I don't know his name.
Yeah, the older guy. I can't remember who it was. And it's one of them. You just like, you've got a guy that's got all that talent, and you just want to grab his head and go, mate, just work with somebody. Don't be so arrogant. But moving on to Eubank, you know, like I say, I've read a lot of interviews about Eubank, and especially when he was under Matchroom, and Eddie Hearn used to say, like, we were this close to the Golovkin fight, and then right at the end, like, his dad's asking for like an extra £2 million. Like, that's definitely questionable. Do you know what I mean? Like, you see his dad when like Eubank's weighing in on a stage. Have you seen that video where like his dad's like doing some stupid dance in like that? Like, what are you doing, mate? Like, you've had your time. Do you know what I mean? Like, let your son. I get you want to have his best interest, but you don't see Nigel Benn up on the stage when Conor Benn's weighing in. Do you know what I mean? So surely at that point you're like, look, Dad, fuck off. Like, you've done your. I appreciate your advice. I appreciate you being in the gym. You know, whatever you want to do for me. But I'm here weighing in for a box office fight, and you're doing the fucking cha-cha slide on the other side of the stage. Like, jog on, mate. Do you know what I mean? So, is that something that helps him? Do you know what I mean? Like, they've been labelled as hard work to work with, just because of the extra demands they get. You know, like when he fought Golovkin, there was rumours that he wanted to ring walk second. Like, on what level do you live? You know, like you said, ring walks don't matter to you. Like, what, you don't ask for them things. You're the challenger. You're taking a fight which he would have got mauled in. He would have got mauled to pieces against Golovkin. Because I just think speed don't beat overall ability. Speed beats timing, of course. You know what I mean? No, timing beats speed. Sorry.
Yeah.
But he's just that was an awful fight for him, and I don't think even if he wins this, which I don't think he does, by the way, what he goes on to. So what do you feel about his dad being involved so heavily?
Yeah, like his dad is one of the reasons why his career probably has been so bad. Like, you know, signed with Matchroom, then left, signed with Warren, left, like signed with pretty much every promoter there is. And then wasn't he working by himself for a while as well? Like, I don't even know. Like, yeah, his dad, and I've heard things as well, like people that being in the game, I've heard that like they're like Chris Eubank when he's on his own is actually a really cool guy. But the second his dad steps in the room, it's all different. Like, so I think when people say like, you know, they're hard to work with, I think really they're saying that Eubank Senior is hard to work with, and he does really seem like that kind of guy that he does want it to all be about him. Like you said, you know, you've had your moment. I still think he thinks that this is his moment. It's his way to get back into the limelight and all that. So yeah, I'm not really a Eubank Senior fan, but I am definitely a Eubank Junior fan.
You wouldn't strike me as someone. I would have thought that you wouldn't be a Eubank Junior fan, so that does surprise me. And like, I was, but I don't know. I think I don't know why. Like, you know, I just thought you would be more like, as we said about Liam Williams, like he just does not give a shit. He'll say what he wants. And like I said, you do like that about him, and I thought that would be bang on for you to be Team Williams. I hope he sparks him. So that does surprise me. But so do you think Eubank is as good as he thinks he is? No, because he thinks he's like unified level.
Yeah, no. I mean, we spoke about it a minute ago, didn't I? I said that I think he's just like fringe world level, like he's just under the world level thing, but he does think he is like the God's gift. But I mean, at the end of the day, if you don't believe in yourself, then who's going to believe in you? So, you know, if this is the kind of stuff he needs to tell himself to get to that level, then fair play. Like, I think just tell yourself what you need to tell yourself. You know, you see people at small hall that are probably never going to win a world title in their life, but they say like, I'm going to be a world champion, man. I'm going to be a world champion. And that's the kind of stuff you need to believe it to achieve it, as they say. So, you know, like even the stuff he says sometimes, maybe sometimes he doesn't believe it himself, but this is the stuff that he needs to say to get to that level. So, you know, I just think fair play to him.
I think 100%. You have to have that belief, you know, to feel you're the best. Like I said, I used to play darts, and I'd go on the tour and you'd draw like the world champion, and in your heart of hearts, you think like, look, I've really got to turn this on to beat him. But there's always that thing in the back of your mind, like if he just plays to half his level, I'm gonna lose. Do you know what I mean? Like I need to get real lucky. So yeah, I understand he does need to believe he's the best, and I agree. I don't think he will win a world title unless, like we said again about, if someone moves up or moves down or whatever, or relinquishes their title. I don't think there's no other way of him winning it. But you mentioned his loss to Groves. Just how good was that fight? Groves was phenomenal, wasn't he? He just, you remember you face, it looked like a jam jar. It was just battered to pieces. How good was that performance?
Mate, Groves is so class. I know Groves like personally as well, because obviously down at State of Mind, Barry used to work with Groves. Like Barry worked with him for his Carl Froch fight and the Badu Jack fight and all that. So he used to come down State of Mind quite a lot. Like I've trained with him. I've had dinner with him outside of boxing. Like I used to go down the Shane McGuigan's gym all the time, and I'd see him there and speak to him. So like I know Groves quite well, and yeah, like I think Groves was like an elite. I think apart from Callum Smith at the time, I think Callum Smith was probably the only fighter that could beat him, and that's just because I think Callum Smith was just literally an absolute monster of a man at super middleweight. Like he was so big, so strong. Like I genuinely thought at one point Callum Smith could have beat Canelo, but I don't really know what happened in that fight. Apparently he did not give a good account of himself at all. Like he's got all the attributes to beat Canelo. He's got the size, the strength, and the power. But I don't know. I heard that he really didn't even give it a go. Like when they fought. So it is what it is, I guess, at that point. But yeah, the Groves performance on that night, it kind of again showed what level Eubank was at compared to what level Groves was at. Like Groves could literally win a fight on his jab alone. His jab was nasty. Yeah, his jab was nasty. So Groves was great, man.
I was always a fan of George Groves, and I must admit, in the first fight, I wanted him to beat Froch. But then the way he acted, then I was younger, I didn't understand why Groves was giving it the big one. I didn't understand boxing and understand how bad that stoppage was. So when it came into the second fight, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, he's lost a fight, he's been knocked out, and he's coming in saying, I'm going to knock you out. And after that second Froch fight, which, by the way, was one of the greatest stoppages I've seen, that knockout at Wembley was just folded the camping table, didn't he? He literally stood up and just went bang, bang, off you go. I grew a lot of respect for Groves, and I was really happy. That was, again, on the Kell Brook undercard, when Brook fought Spence, when he beat that, what's his name, that Russian fella that's still fighting now. I can't think of his name, but again, that was another one you said about his jab. Yeah, Gudanov, and he just jabbed him for whatever it was, like 6 rounds. It's just constant jab, right hand, jab, right hand, jab, right hand, and he didn't even throw a big shot, and he stopped him off of the jab pretty much, didn't he? He caught him with a few big shots. But I know, obviously, Mitchell, who we both know, he's done a bit of work with George Groves in the past, and he said about the exact same thing. You won't see a jab like it in boxing because it is just so snappy. It comes from the hip. It's just bang from the hip. It's there. Do you know what I mean? Just a quick one on Callum Smith. Obviously, you just mentioned there, and I didn't watch the fight with Canelo. I attempted to, but I fell asleep. Seen the highlights. Obviously, you can see the tactical plan of Canelo taking the right hand out of it for Smith by just hitting that bicep. How dangerous can he be at light heavyweight, do you think?
I think he can be just as dangerous as he was at super middleweight, to be honest. He is kind of one of the ones, do you know, we were just talking about a minute ago when I was like, I don't like it when they lose and they move up. But he's kind of one of the ones that I'll kind of like let it slide because he literally did everything at super middleweight. So for him to stay at super middleweight is pretty irrelevant. He was world champion. He won the Super 6. He did literally everything apart from just beat Canelo. So what is the point of him staying at super middleweight? He might as well just go up to light heavy, have a go at light heavy and become a 2-weight world champion, which I do think he will do. He got an absolutely devastating knockout when he first moved up to light heavy. Like that was absolutely.
That guy had never been stopped either.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was brutal. So, you know, like And obviously he was a massive, as I said earlier, a massive super middleweight, and he's probably still even quite a big light heavyweight. So I reckon he's going to be very dangerous at light heavy.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Callum Smith. I think, like you say, to have made super middleweight how he was, it can't have been healthy. You know, he always said, oh, you know, it's no trouble, it's this, that, the other, but he must be pushing himself until like sort of 10 days out from the fight to make that weight. Sweatsuits, the lot. So, like you said about, I can't, the guy's name, it was that, he was from like America or somewhere, wasn't he? And I remember I was sitting like watching it, it was on the zone, and I was scrolling through Sky Bet for the fights, and it was like Callum Smith to win by stoppage 4-1. And I was like, hold up, like this guy's knocked out like 20 opponents. Let's back that. So I think I put something like a tenner on it or £20 on it. And then, like we said, he just folded him in half. And it was such a clean shot. Like you said, just the jab and then whack straight down the middle. And it was quite uncomfortable because you could see the doctors, the ref didn't even wave it off. The doctors were just straight into the ring. The guy was in hospital, but thankfully he was all right. So who same as like we said about the middleweights, in terms of lightweights, you've got British, you've got Callum Smith, Joshua Buatsi, Anthony Yard, Lyndon Arthur, Craig Richards. Who's your pick?
Buatsi, I think, is the number one. Thing is, like, again, he does kind of need to. I mean, I think his last fight was actually quite a good one, because that guy, even though a lot of people might not know him, but he had some good names on his record, and he had stopped some. He stopped that Jose Burton, didn't he, in his last fight as well? So like he clearly was half decent, and so it was a good step up. It was a step in the right direction. But really, when you actually look at Buatsi's resume, he's not really. He has been in with some like kind of good domestic level fighters, but I think he was like world class a long time ago. He was definitely at least European class, and he was never really, you know, stepped up and had them fights. Like he never really, like the Yard fight never really happened, which it should. It probably will happen, because you would like to think that's going to happen for a world title now, though. But yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, it's definitely Buatsi. He's so class, so class.
He's just slick, isn't he? I mean, I was at when he fought, I think it was Ryan Robinson or something, on the Lomachenko Campbell card, and his shots are so stiff. Like I must have been I won the ticket. I was quite close to the ring, but you know, you can always hear that like psh, that the glove makes when it connects. But you could hear the actual connect. Like it was just, you know, like you're sitting and you're like, ouch, 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 like Jesus. And he's, like I say, so I'm a big fan of Buatsi. I think he's unnatural. And again, I think he'll be another one that moves up eventually.
Want to hear a funny story about me and Buatsi, right? It was when I was having my third pro fight, and he's good friends with one of Steve's fighters. I think it's like Dylan Sinclair or something. And so I was in the same change room as Sinclair, and so I was sitting there with my girlfriend at the time, and we were speaking, and Buatsi was there, and I didn't even recognize him. I didn't, because like I don't even think he had like a pro fight at that time. He had just come through the Olympics, or maybe he had like a handful of fights, and I didn't even recognize him. And he stopped me and my girlfriend mid conversation. He's like, "Sorry, mate." He's like, "Who is she to you?" Yeah, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, this guy's going to try and put it on my fucking missus, like, right in front of me. And I was like, I looked at him, I was like, that's my girl, yeah. And he was like, oh yeah, he was like, I thought it was your girl. Like, he was like, I'm a boxer, my girl, like when I fight, like she gets really nervous and all this. And he was like, I was just wondering like what she was like with you. And in my head I was thinking, thank God this guy didn't put it on my missus. And I was just, and then we were speaking in the changing room for like a good 10-20 minutes, and then when I won my fight, I come back in and he tapped my girlfriend on the shoulder. He's like, did he win? And like she was like, yeah. And then he was like, congratulations, mate, like this, that. And then I went home, and the next day woke up and I saw that one of the people that was doing the show had done an interview, and it was like interview with Joshua Buatsi, and I was like, oh my God, that was Joshua Buatsi. I was like, you didn't take it on the night? No. I was like, how did I not get like a picture or something with him? But lucky enough, I ended up meeting him again, and like got the photo with him and reminded him of the whole incident and so on.
It's one of them. If he wanted your girlfriend, you'd have booked the Uber and packed them both in there.
Yeah. Just have her, mate.
Tell me when you need a lift home. I'll come and pick you up, mate. It's all done. But he's my girlfriend watches a bit of boxing with me, and Buatsi's someone that she really likes. You know, he's so calm outside the ring, and Eddie Hearn always says about, you know, he's never met somebody that can switch just like that. You know, he does his little ring walk, he gets in, he says his prayer, touches gloves, wishes the guy respect. The guy could call him any name under the sun and actually be like, I wish you good luck. Bell goes, bang, out, sits down, does his little prayer again, and then he's back into a human. I'm a huge fan of Joshua Buatsi. I really think he's going to go far. Yeah, and I think I'd know him if I bumped into him in a changing room as well. But, so to end this off, we're just you said Eubank. You think Eubank wins on points, yeah?
No, I actually do think that Williams will win.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think Williams does win. I think it's a real good 50-50 fight. I believe that, like, I could give a good account, like good argument for both of them winning, but I do think that Liam Williams is just that level, not even like a level above, but I just think he's that little bit better. And I think I wouldn't even necessarily say that he's got he's fought at a higher level. I think they've both probably fought the same, but I just think Liam Williams wants it that little bit more, and he's at that kind of that. I don't know. I just think my heart tells me, you know, that Eubank will do it, but I just believe that Williams he's just that little bit better than Eubank, and that's on the night he's going to show it.
Points.
Yeah, points. I don't. As I said, I could make an argument for a knockout, but I think both of them are just so resilient. Like, and I just think it's good. It would take a real Callum Smith shot to stop one of them. So I think it would be points.
See, I'm a bit like, you know, there's arguments for both ways in how the fight ends, but I just think with Eubank's constant barrage of punches and Williams's power, I can't see them both standing after 12 rounds.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to not the press conference, the weigh-in. I think there's going to be a bit of fisticuffs there. I wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall. I bet they say some horrible shit to each other because, like I said, when the gloves are off, Williams just looked at Eubank and was like, I don't like you. Do you know what I mean? Don't do my Welsh accent. I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, mate. And maybe next week when we're on, we'll do a quick review of it and then move on. Because I think, isn't it Carnbrook the week after? Or is that 2 weeks later?
Yeah, like a week or two, yeah.
Yeah, so there's some big fights in February. Like you say, you've got Carnbrook, Williams, Eubank, and also another big one on Sky. I can't think who it is, but it is a big fight because I watched an interview yesterday on it. But anything else for you to add on that, mate? Or are you happy with that? Covered everything?
Yeah, I think we covered everything there.
All right, mate. Well, another good one, I think. We will get this up, 2 days out, Thursday, Friday, maybe?
Yeah, put it up on Thursday. I think would be a good day to put it up. All
right, mate. Lovely. Well, thank you for the chat again. Enjoyed it, and we will speak soon.
Speak soon, mate.
Take care, mate. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.